Everything about her was not typical of her. She didn't have her cell phones. She didn't contact anyone. All of a sudden, gone.
It was a snowy day. Chandra Bjork, a worker at the Mall of America, repeatedly called her close friend and coworker, Kira Steger, but no one answered. Growing concerned, Chandra sent more messages, but Kira didn't reply. This was strange to her, since Kira had never missed a shift before, and if she ever did, Chandra would have known in advance. Her anxiety mounted, and what she feared most came true later that day, when she received a call from the police informing her dear friend at work, Kira Steger, had gone missing. In today's episode, we'll dive into the twisted case of Kira Steger's disappearance. Where did she go, and who is responsible? Before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss any updates on our latest true crime stories. Kira Steger was born on November 19, 1982, in Des Plaines, Illinois, to Marcy and Jay Steger. She was the youngest of 3 siblings. The family later moved to Wisconsin, where Kira graduated from Everest High School in 2001. After high school, Kira moved to Minnesota to pursue her career. She worked as a store clerk at the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota. In 2010, Kira married Jeffrey Trevino. They had met 3 years earlier, and from the moment they connected, a spark ignited between them. Their deep connection quickly turned into a romantic relationship, which eventually led to their wedding. According to friends and family, Kira and Jeffrey had an overall happy and stable marriage. While, like any couple, they occasionally had disagreements, these were kept private and within their own circle. Their relationship was generally seen as loving and strong. Kira Steger was known for her warmth and caring nature. Friends and family described her as someone who made others feel comfortable and enjoyed being around her. At work, she was recognized for being reliable, hardworking, and approachable, making her well-liked by coworkers. Though outgoing, Kira kept parts of her life private. No one could have predicted that this young, promising woman would meet such a tragic end. Kira Steger was last seen on Thursday, February 21st, 2013. Just like the other day, she had a regular shift at work. Her colleagues reported that she was in a good mood and had plans to go out for dinner with her husband after work. However, by Saturday, February 23rd, when Kira didn't show up for work, her colleagues started to worry. Her closest coworker said in interviews with the police, this was very unusual for her. Kira was the type of person who was always on time. If something had been holding her up, both the manager and I would have known, since she was a very responsible person. Fearing something terrible had happened, they tried to reach her but were unsuccessful. That's when they decided to call Jeffrey, her husband. To their dismay, he was just as clueless as they were. According to him, Kira had left the house the previous morning and hadn't returned since. He wasn't too worried at first, since Kira sometimes went away for a day or two to visit friends or family. However, he mentioned that the snowy weather could have caused problems. He thought her car might have gotten stuck or her phone might have died. That same day, when he still hadn't heard from Kira, Jeffrey called her family and friends, only to find out that no one had seen her all day. They were shocked and deeply concerned when they learned that Kira had left the house without telling anyone. This was completely out of character for her. Later, Jeffrey reported her as missing. When the police received the missing persons report for Kira Steger, they immediately jumped into action. As with any case like this, the first step was to question the spouse and search the surrounding area. Even though Jeffrey Steger was the one who reported her missing, they didn't rule him out as a potential suspect and went straight to his home to speak with him. Jeffrey told the detectives that on Thursday, the two of them had spent some quality time together. They had dinner, chatted, bowled, and then left the mall. According to him, they drove straight home afterward because Kira wanted to watch a movie. The next morning, around 8:30 a.m., Kira left for work. She had an event to attend and was required to be there. Jeffrey said everything seemed normal, nothing out of the ordinary. He explained to the police that Kira had a habit of disappearing for a day or two now and then, but he didn't think much of it. They had been having some relationship issues lately, but Jeffrey brushed it off as nothing serious. just the usual disagreements couples go through. When the detectives pressed him, asking if Kira might have stayed with someone else or if there was any chance of her having an affair, Jeffrey firmly denied it. He claimed to love his wife deeply and trusted her. After leaving Jeffy's house, the detectives shared all the information they had on Kira and her car with the patrol units. Then, they made their way to the Mall of America to verify Jeffrey's story and look for any clues that could help. The Mall of America, one of the largest shopping centers in the world, is packed with 520 stores, theme parks, an oceanarium, movie theaters, and more. It's also lined with security cameras. Knowing the time Kira had left work on February 21st, the detectives scoured the footage.
The detectives looked into that moment. The footage showed nothing out of the ordinary. Jeffrey's account held true. He met Kira after work and they hung out at the mall for a while, then went down to the parking lot and drove away. There were no arguments between them, and the evening appeared to have gone fine.
What they found was nothing unusual. Jeffrey's story checked out. He and Kira had met after work, hung out at the mall, and then left together. There were no signs of a fight or tension between them. Everything seemed fine. During an interview with one of Kira's neighbors, police found that they had a camera facing the street in front of Kira's house. However, Kira and Jeffrey's house was only visible for a few seconds as the camera quickly moved to the right. The investigators worked hard, but the camera moved so fast and the poor image quality made it difficult to see anything clearly. As a result, they found nothing of significance. The investigation continued, and the police worked tirelessly to find answers. They searched extensively, interviewed people, and reviewed evidence, but they found little to explain Kira's mysterious disappearance. It was as if one day she simply vanished into the thin air, like she never existed at all. As the days passed without news of Kira, her family grew increasingly worried. The uncertainty about her whereabouts weighed heavily on them, and with each passing day, their fear for her safety only deepened. Tired of waiting and desperate for answers, Kira's family decided to travel to Bloomington to help with the investigation. They printed flyers with her photo, posted them on street poles, and handed them out to anyone they could find. Their goal was to bring as much attention as possible to Kira's disappearance. They knew they couldn't just wait. They had to take action and do everything they could to find her. While her family worked the streets, investigators were still digging into the case. Their hard work finally paid off when new phone records came in, giving the investigators a fresh lead to follow. Kira's phone records revealed something surprising. She had another man in her life besides her husband. His name was Ryan Wendt, the manager of a store in the same chain where Kira worked. They had a deep and ongoing relationship, staying in frequent contact. The police soon learned that Ryan Wendt was out of state at the time of Kira's disappearance. While the search for Kira was still underway, Ryan was driving toward Colorado. His connection to Kira was critical to the investigation, not just because of their romantic involvement, but because he left the state at the same time she went missing. Was it all just a coincidence, or was there something more to his sudden departure? The investigators needed to find the truth. They managed to track down Ryan, and he agreed to speak with them in Colorado. During the interview, he told them that he had last texted Kira while driving through South Dakota, just before her disappearance. The timing of these messages was telling. Kira had been texting Ryan while having dinner with Jeffrey. The messages made it clear that Kira was growing distant from her husband. The investigators reviewed Ryan's phone records, tracking his location through cell towers, and examined his credit card statements. It turned out that Ryan was out of state on the night in question and had no connection to Kira's disappearance. With this information, he was cleared as a suspect. However, the timeline of the texts revealed something unexpected. Kira was still texting Ryan after she returned home with Jeffrey, but their communication stopped around 11:44 p.m. After that, Kira's phone went silent and inactive. In the meantime, the team reviewing the video footage from Kira's neighbor's camera finally found a suspicious lead. Earlier, Jeffrey told investigators that after dinner and bowling, he and Kira went home, watched a movie, and went to bed. But when the investigators looked at the footage, they noticed something strange. After 2 a.m., Kira's car appeared to reverse into the yard. The footage was blurry and shaky, but it looked like the car drove away from the house shortly after. Jeffrey explained the late-night drive by saying that Kira had asked him to fill her car with gas for her commute the next morning, so he went to the gas station. To the surprise of the detectives, Jeffrey's story was checked out. He was seen at the gas station around 3:30 a.m. However, after leaving the gas station, Jeffrey didn't go straight home. Instead, he drove toward the highway, and investigators couldn't figure out where he went next. The neighbor's camera didn't catch him coming back, but it was possible that the camera had turned in the other direction by then. It could have been a coincidence, but it was still unclear what happened after that. Despite the low-quality footage, investigators kept reviewing it carefully. Eventually, they found a new lead that shed light on the mysterious case. At 9:21 a.m. on the day Kira presumably went missing, they spotted her white Chevy driving away. However, the video didn't show who was behind the wheel. Was it Kira? And if it was, where was she going, if not to work or to visit a loved one? Then on Monday, February 25th, 2 days after Kira's missing report, the police got a call about a suspicious vehicle near the shopping center where she worked. The shopping center had 2 multi-level parking garages. Security guards noticed that a car had been parked in the same spot for several days and called for a tow truck. Before towing the vehicle, the driver inspected it and noticed red stains on the trunk lid. He immediately called the police. The car turned out to be Kira's white Chevy. According to the witness, there wasn't much blood, just a few small stains, but it was there, and that was a bad sign. Inside the car, police found Kira's purse, which contained divorce court forms that seemed to have been printed from the internet. Then, something else caught their attention, a dark object lying in the snow behind the car. When they got closer, they discovered it was a rolled-up trunk mat with dark stains on the underside. DNA testing confirmed it was Kira's blood. Reality hit hard. Investigators began to realize that Kira was probably no longer alive. It was devastating news for her family and friends. Their last shred of hope was gone. With it came a flood of painful questions. How did she die? Did she suffer? Who could have done this to her? The absence of Kira's body made it even harder for her loved ones to cope. Not knowing where she was or what had happened was an unbearable weight on their hearts. The detectives' top priority was to figure out why Kira's car was abandoned there. Was Kira the driver? Did she go to the mall parking lot to meet someone who eventually killed her? Or was it someone else behind the wheel, trying to mislead the police? According to the investigators' report, the car left her house at 9:21 a.m. and showed up on the mall's cameras about 20 minutes later. While there were no cameras in the exact lot where the car was left, one camera caught the path leading to it. When detectives reviewed the footage, they saw something interesting. A man with his hood up appeared a few minutes after the white Chevy entered the lot. It was cold that morning, so the hoodie wasn't suspicious at first, but the detectives still wanted to know where this man went. The footage showed him crossing the street and walking to a taxi stand. He had a brief conversation with one of the drivers, got into the cab, and drove off. The detectives traced the cab company and used the GPS tracking system in the taxi to retrace the man's route. His trip ended just 1 block away from Kira and Jeffrey's house. He got out of the taxi, paid in cash, and walked off. Moments later, the same neighborhood camera that partially captured Kira and Jeffrey's home caught the hooded man again. The man entered the frame and walked toward the house. Unfortunately, the video quality was too poor to identify his face. The only thing that stood out was a big logo on his hoodie. As the detectives followed the hooded man's steps, they saw him walk right into the house where Kira and Jeffrey lived. With Kira missing, it became clear the hooded man was almost certainly Jeffrey. With this evidence, the police wasted no second. They secured a search warrant and headed to the house. At first glance, it looked like any ordinary home, but a closer inspection told a darker story. In the bedroom, they found dark red stains, some on the wall beside the bed, and nearly 100 on the mattress. It was clear the room had been recently cleaned and rearranged. When the forensic team sprayed luminol, the floor lit up with bloodstains invisible to the naked eye. The stains started in the bedroom and stretched into other parts of the house. Forensics confirmed it was Kira's blood. Investigators were now certain Kira was dead. The police also searched Jeffrey's car. It showed no signs of blood or a struggle, but they found something that raised eyebrows: a gas station receipt. It was issued an hour and 40 minutes before Kira's car was abandoned at the mall. The receipt showed that Jeffrey had used his card at the gas station. Detectives went straight to that gas station and reviewed the security footage. It showed Jeffrey filling up his car, then withdrawing cash from an ATM. Most importantly, the footage captured his face, and the hoodie he was wearing had a chest logo that matched the one seen on the hooded man in the earlier footage. With all the evidence gathered, police arrested 39-year-old Jeffrey Trevino. He was taken to the station for questioning and was now the prime suspect. In the interrogation room, Jeffrey immediately called his attorney, who advised him to remain silent. The detectives had enough evidence to charge him, but there was still one key piece missing: the body. Even without it, there was little doubt in anyone's mind. Kira was dead, and Jeffrey was responsible. The police, along with Kira's family and volunteers, spent months searching for her. In late March, as the snow began to melt, volunteers found a strange bag by the roadside near Keller Lake, just a few miles from Trevino's house. They called the police immediately. Inside the bag, they found a blood-stained pillow, a shirt, and a bra. Forensic tests confirmed it was Kira's DNA on the items. This evidence raised a strong possibility that Jeffrey Trevino might have disposed of Kira's body in the nearby lake. Around that time, the lake was still covered in ice, making the search difficult. Divers explored the water but found no sign of Kira. The surrounding area was searched multiple times, with 4 cadaver dogs trained to detect human remains, but nothing turned up. Then, 2.5 months after Kira's disappearance, on May 8, 2013, the St. Paul Police Department received a chilling call. A man told the operator he had seen what looked like a dead body floating in the Mississippi River. When officers arrived, they recovered the body from the water. It was badly decomposed and unclothed. Dental records confirmed it was Kira Steger. With Kira's body found, it provided a wealth of valuable forensic evidence. The autopsy revealed that Kira had suffered a severe blunt force injury to her forehead and a fractured index finger on her left hand. Unfortunately, due to the body's advanced state of decomposition, the medical examiners couldn't determine the exact cause of death. Using the new evidence, investigators pieced together the events leading up to Kira's death, and the grim truth unfolded before them. The night before Kira went missing, Jeffrey saw Kira texting someone else. He demanded to see her phone, but Kira refused. Enraged, he grabbed it from her, breaking her finger in the struggle. After reading the romantic messages, Jeffrey became furious. Blinded by rage, he killed Kira and then set out to cover up his crime. Investigators believed he put Kira's body in the trunk of her car, drove to a gas station, and then headed to the river to dispose of her body. On the way back, he dumped a bag containing Kira's bloodied pillow and clothes. The next morning, Jeffrey withdrew cash from an ATM at another gas station. He knew he'd need cash to pay for a cab after abandoning Kira's car at the mall. Later, he left her car in the parking lot and took a taxi back home. Once home, Jeffrey spent the rest of the day cleaning the house to hide the evidence. To get away with murder, Jeffrey's plan was to make it look like Kira drove off that morning and disappeared. But thanks to surveillance cameras and the persistence of investigators, his plan fell apart. In October 2013, 39-year-old Jeffrey Trevino was found guilty. However, the jury agreed with the defense that the crime wasn't premeditated, but happened during a heated argument after Jeffrey discovered his wife's infidelity. In November 2013, Jeffrey Trevino was sentenced to 27.5 years in prison. He will be eligible for parole in 2031. Kira Steger had dreams, ambitions, and a life filled with promise. She was a daughter, a friend, a colleague, someone who mattered. Yet in the span of one violent night, everything was stolen from her. The same hands that once held hers in marriage became the ones that ended her story. Jeffrey Trevino didn't just destroy his own life in a moment of rage. He condemned Kira's loved ones to a lifetime of grief. At the very least, justice was served, and while it couldn't erase the pain, it offered a sense of closure and brought some comfort to those left behind.
We will never have our daughter back, but at least justice has been done.
I 100% faith in the legal system. And I believe they did an excellent job, and I believe Kira would be happy.
Kira's story serves as a grim reminder that the greatest dangers don't always lurk in the shadows of the unknown. Sometimes they sit across from us at the dinner table. They wear wedding rings. They whisper promises of forever, only to turn love into something unrecognizable. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to receive more true crime stories from our channel. Until next time, stay safe out there.